It all started when we moved into our new house. Lily and I had been dating for almost 3 years, and things were going great. I had just proposed to her, and everything seemed perfect. But one evening, things took a drastic turn. We had just finished unpacking, and I was putting the last of my boxes into the living room when Lily dropped a bombshell. She turned to me and said, "I need to talk to you about something important." I paused, looking up from my box, already sensing the tension in the air. I had no idea what was coming next. "I think it's time we talked about Max," she said, referring to my dog. Max had been with me since college, and he was the one thing that had always been there for me through thick and thin. I thought she'd just bring up some small issue with him, like maybe him barking too much or stealing food off the counter. But instead, she shocked me with, "You need to choose between me or your dog." I froze. I thought I'd misheard her. My mind raced, trying to process what she had just said. "Are you serious?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. She nodded, her face serious. "Yes, Max is causing problems in our relationship. I can't live in a house with a dog who takes up all your attention and doesn't respect boundaries. You need to choose. It's either him or me." Couldn't believe it. The woman I was about to marry was giving me an ultimatum. But it wasn't just a small issue. It was Max, my dog, my best friend. I never imagined it would come to this. How could she ask me to choose between her and my dog? Max was family to me, and it felt like she was trying to force me to choose between her and something that had been there for me long before she was. I didn't know what to say at first, but I knew I couldn't make a decision like this so quickly. The night ended awkwardly, and I couldn't help but wonder if I was overreacting. Was this really a big deal, or was I making a mountain out of a molehill? A few days passed, and Lily didn't let up. She kept insisting that I choose between her and Max. She was convinced that my dog was the issue, and that he was ruining our relationship. She complained about Max being everywhere, getting on the furniture, and shedding all over the place. It felt like no matter how much I tried to explain that Max had been with me long before she was, it didn't make a difference. Then, one evening, Lily hit me with the ultimatum. "Either you get rid of Max, or I'm leaving." I was stunned. This wasn't a conversation anymore. This was a demand. It felt like she was putting me in a position where I had to pick her or my dog. I tried to reason with her, telling her that Max was part of my life. She wasn't having it. She told me she couldn't live with him anymore, that it was either him or her. And that was when it hit me, this wasn't just about Max. This was about control. Lily wanted to dictate who or what could be a part of my life. One night, things took a turn. I came home late to find Lily standing by the back gate, holding Max's leash, ready to open it. She was going to let him loose. I asked her what she was doing, and she told me she was taking him for a walk. But it didn't feel right. That was the moment I realized how far she was willing to go. This wasn't just about the dog. It was about everything else. I had a choice to make. The next few days were tense. Lily wasn't backing down, and every time I tried to have a calm conversation about the situation, she'd throw more fuel on the fire. I could tell she wasn't just irritated with Max anymore. She was getting downright hostile. She'd roll her eyes every time Max came near her, complain about him barking when someone walked by the house, and criticize me for not taking her side. The tipping point came when she told me I was being selfish for even thinking about keeping Max. She said I didn't care about her happiness and that I was more committed to a dog than to her. That hurt, but I also knew I had a decision to make. It was no longer about making her feel like a priority. It was about standing my ground. I told Lily that I couldn't just let Max go. He had been with me through thick and thin. He'd been there when I was going through tough times, when I was feeling alone, and he was the one I could always count on. I asked her if she could understand that, but she didn't want to. Things got even worse when Lily started involving my family. She called my mom and told her about our problem, painting Max as the villain in the story. My mom, who had always loved Max, called me immediately and was clearly upset. She told me that I had to make a decision. If I loved Lily, I needed to choose her. My mom, of all people, was putting pressure on me to choose between the two. It felt like the tension was building with every passing hour. Lily wasn't letting up. Her cold shoulder was becoming more noticeable, and she kept reminding me of the ultimatum she had given me. It wasn't just about Max anymore. It felt like she was testing my commitment to her. And honestly, I was starting to feel cornered. Lily started dropping more hints that if I didn't pick her over Max, she'd leave. She even went as far as to tell me that she couldn't be with someone who valued a dog more than his future wife. She said it in a way that made me feel like I was making a huge mistake, like choosing Max would be the end of everything I had with her. I tried to reason with her. I told her that I loved her, but I couldn't just throw away everything Max had given me. Max was family. He'd been with me for years, through every high and low. He wasn't just a dog to me, he was my companion, my confidant. But Lily wasn't hearing it. It became clear that she was determined to win this battle, even if it meant I lost. The more she pushed, the more I started to question the relationship. It seemed like Lily wasn't interested in compromise or understanding. She wanted things her way, and if that meant me choosing between her and Max, then that's exactly what she expected. That's when I knew something had to give. I thought about all the moments Max had been there for me, when I was going through rough patches in life, when I felt lost, when no one else seemed to care. And then I thought about Lily. I had to ask myself, was I willing to sacrifice everything for a person who couldn't accept something as simple as my bond with my dog? I had to make a decision, but this time, I wasn't going to let anyone manipulate me into making the wrong choice. The pressure was becoming unbearable. Lily kept pushing harder, and the more she demanded that I choose between her and Max, the more frustrated I got. It felt like I was trapped in a no-win situation, and the longer I went without making a decision, the more things escalated. One evening, after a particularly heated argument, Lily dropped the bombshell. She said, "If you can't make a choice now, then I'm leaving you." That was it. I had never seen her this cold before. She wasn't just upset anymore. She was done. I sat there stunned. This wasn't just about Max anymore. This was about control. She was using Max as leverage, and I realized how far she was willing to go to get her way. It wasn't love anymore. It was manipulation. I couldn't believe what was happening. I knew I couldn't let her walk all over me. Max was my dog. He wasn't a piece of property I could just discard when it was inconvenient for someone. He had been by my side for years, through everything. And here was Lily, expecting me to pick her over the one true companion I had. I told her, "I can't choose between you and Max. It's not that simple. He's been there for me longer, and that means something." She stared at me for a moment, as if trying to decide whether to push me further or just walk out. Finally, she stood up. "Fine," she said. "If that's the choice you're making, then I guess this is it." The words hit hard, but in a strange way I felt relief. The weight had been lifted. The tension that had been building up for weeks was gone. I didn't have to choose. I wasn't going to sacrifice Max for anyone. She packed up her things without another word. I didn't try to stop her. I wasn't going to beg her to stay. If she couldn't understand my bond with Max, then she wasn't the one for me. As soon as she left, I felt a strange sense of calm. The house was quiet, but it wasn't uncomfortable. Max came over and sat next to me, his head resting on my lap. I smiled. In that moment, I knew I had made the right choice. The next few days were surprisingly peaceful. I spent time with Max, and we went for long walks in the park like we used to do before all the drama. I didn't miss the constant tension from Lily. If anything, it was a relief. But then, something unexpected happened. A week after Lily left, I got a text from her. It wasn't a long message, just a simple "we need to talk." At first, I was hesitant. What could she possibly want now? But something in me told me I should at least hear her out. I agreed to meet at a coffee shop. I walked in, trying to prepare myself for whatever she was about to say. When I saw her, she looked different. There was no anger in her eyes, no bitterness. It was almost like she had come to terms with something. She sat down and started right away. "I've been thinking about everything. About you and Max. And about me." She paused, looking down at her hands. I realized something. She looked up, her eyes sincere. "I've been selfish. I was so focused on what I wanted. I didn't see how important Max was to you." I was taken aback. This wasn't what I had expected at all. Was she really admitting she was wrong? I didn't say anything, letting her continue. I've had time to think, she went on. I know I can't ask you to choose. Max is part of your life. And honestly, I shouldn't have tried to come between you two. I'm sorry. I sat there, processing her words. Was this some sort of trick? Was she trying to manipulate me again? I had to admit, part of me wanted to believe her. But the other part of me remained cautious. After everything that had happened, could I really trust her? She went on. I don't expect you to take me back. I just wanted to apologize. I've been trying to change, to think more about what's important. And maybe one day we could start fresh. But no promises. I didn't know how to respond. This was the last thing I had expected, but it felt genuine. Still, I had learned my lesson. I wasn't going to rush into anything again. I told her, I appreciate your apology, but right now, I'm focused on what's best for me and Max. She nodded, understanding. I get it. I just wanted to say my piece. I hope you and Max have a good life together. She stood up to leave, and just as I thought she was walking away for good, she turned back. Oh, and by the way, she said with a half smile, Max is a great dog. You were right about him. Then, she walked out of the coffee shop, leaving me to wonder if this was truly the end of everything, or if there was more to come. A few days after that coffee shop meeting, life seemed to settle back into a new routine. I spent my evenings with Max, enjoying the quiet and freedom that had returned to my home. But just when I thought things were getting back to normal, an unexpected visitor knocked on my door. It was late in the evening when I heard the knock. I wasn't expecting anyone, so I hesitated for a moment before answering. When I opened the door, there she was, Lily. She stood there, holding a small bag in her hand, looking a little unsure of herself. For a moment I was stunned. What was she doing here? After everything that had happened, why was she back? Can we talk? She asked, her voice tentative but firm. I didn't know how to react. After everything that had gone down between us, I wasn't sure what she could possibly have left to say. But part of me wondered if this was another attempt at manipulation. Still, there was a part of me that was curious. Curious about whether she had truly changed or if this was just another chapter in her game. I stepped aside, letting her in. She placed the bag on the coffee table and sat down across from me. Max, of course, immediately walked over to her, sniffing her curiously. She petted him gently, and for a moment, I wondered if that was a sign of her sincerity. I've been doing a lot of thinking, Lily started, her eyes not meeting mine, and I've realized that I messed up. I told you I was selfish before, but what I didn't tell you is that I had been thinking about everything all wrong. It's not just about Max. It's about me too. I raised an eyebrow, still skeptical but willing to listen. What do you mean? I asked, trying to understand where she was coming from. I didn't just try to come between you and Max because of my own jealousy, she continued. I've been insecure. I felt like I couldn't compete with him. But that was my issue to deal with, not yours. And I've been going to therapy, trying to figure out why I act the way I do. It's been eye-opening. I listened quietly, trying to make sense of what she was saying. This was not the person I had known before. It was like she was genuinely apologizing, not just for her actions but for the person she had been. I don't want to disrupt your life again, she said, her voice soft. I just wanted to tell you that I'm working on myself, and I hope you and Max are doing well. I don't expect you to let me back into your life, but I just wanted to apologize one last time. I didn't know what to say. Was this real? Or was it just another attempt at getting back into my life? I was conflicted. Max, who had been watching the whole conversation from my side, gave a low whine as if he was aware of the tension in the room. I looked at her, my mind racing. I appreciate the apology, I said, finally breaking the silence. But we've been through a lot. I'm still not sure what to make of all of this. She nodded, getting up to leave. But before she walked out the door, she turned back one last time. I won't bother you again, I promise. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. With that, she was gone again, leaving me to think about the unexpected turn this had all taken. Had she truly changed? And if so, was it too little, too late? Or was there still a chance for us to move forward? separately or together. I didn't expect to hear from Lily again after that night. But a few days later, an unexpected phone call changed everything. It was from my best friend, Mark. "Hey man," he said, his voice sounding a bit off. "You might want to sit down for this." I could feel the tension in his tone. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my calm. "Lily's been telling people you two are back together," Mark said, dropping the bomb. "She's been going around to your mutual friends, talking about how you and her are working things out. And, dude, she's even telling them she's moving back in with you." My stomach dropped. What? I hadn't heard anything from Lily since she left my place? And now this? I had to admit, a part of me wondered if she was truly trying to make amends. But this didn't sound like the actions of someone who was genuinely sorry. "I don't know what's going on," Mark continued, "but it's making everyone uncomfortable. I'm getting texts from people asking if you're really back with her. This isn't good, man." Couldn't believe it. Lily had just left my house that night, claiming she wasn't going to disrupt my life again, and now she was out there spreading lies. It wasn't just a simple misunderstanding. This was an attempt to manipulate the situation in her favor. "I'll handle it," I told Mark, though I was feeling more confused than ever. My first instinct was to confront Lily, but part of me was hesitant. I was already dealing with so much after everything that had happened. Still, I couldn't let her make a fool of me, especially if she was trying to ruin my reputation. That night, I sent Lily a text. I kept it short and direct. "We need to talk. This we're back together narrative needs to stop. I'm not okay with the lies you're spreading, and I need to know why you're doing this." Minutes later, she called me. I picked up without hesitation. "What the hell is going on, Lily?" I demanded. "You said you were done. You promised you wouldn't disrupt my life. And now you're telling everyone we're back together." There was a long pause on the other end of the line before she finally spoke. "I didn't mean for it to get out of hand," she said, her voice sounding less confident than before. "I've been trying to convince myself that things could go back to the way they were. But I guess I was wrong. I didn't think it through." "You didn't think it through?" I shot back. "You've been telling people we're together, and now you're saying you didn't think it through? This isn't just about us anymore. You're dragging other people into your mess." "I'm sorry," she said, her voice softening. "I didn't realize how much I was messing things up. I just wanted a second chance. I was done. The things she had done to me, the lies, the manipulation, were too much. I'd given her enough chances already, and this was the final straw." "You had your chance, Lily," I said firmly. "I'm done." The call ended, and just like that, Lily was out of my life once again. But this time I knew I had done the right thing. I was standing my ground, no longer falling for her manipulative games. I wasn't going to let her control my life anymore. No matter how many lies she spread. That a week passed since I cut ties with Lily for good. Life felt a lot less complicated, but it was far from peaceful. My phone constantly buzzed with messages from friends, family, and even some acquaintances, all asking about the situation. It seemed like Lily's lies had spread far and wide. She'd been telling people we were still together, and that I was just going through a phase. The lies were escalating, and I wasn't sure how to stop them. I was at home one afternoon when I heard a knock on the door. It was a loud, firm knock, but I didn't expect anyone. I walked to the door and peered through the peephole. To my shock, it was Lily. Again, she was standing on my doorstep, wearing a frustrated expression, looking like she meant business. I hesitated for a moment before opening the door. "What do you want, Lily?" I asked, trying to keep my cool. She didn't waste any time with pleasantries. "I need you to fix this," she said bluntly, her tone more demanding than apologetic. "All these people are thinking I'm crazy. You've got to stop telling them we're over. I need to save my reputation." I was speechless. After everything, she still thought she could manipulate me into doing her bidding. "You're the one who's been lying to everyone, Lily," I said, holding my ground. "You told people we were together when we clearly weren't. This is on you." "I didn't mean to go that far, okay?" she snapped, frustration evident in her voice. "But I can't just let it all fall apart. I'm trying to save face. I've already lost so much. my friends, my family, and now I'm losing you. Please just fix it. For both of us. Fix it. I repeated, incredulity in my voice. You don't get to control the narrative here. I've been clear with you, Lily. This is over. You don't get to dictate the terms anymore. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. I've made a mistake. I know I have. But if you just tell everyone we're still working things out, I'll leave you alone for good. This is your last chance. Don't make the same mistake I did. For a split second, I considered her words. Maybe I was being too harsh. Maybe this was a sign she was willing to change. But then I remembered everything that had led to this moment. The lies, the manipulation, the broken promises. There was no going back now. I can't, I said firmly. You had your chance. This time, I'm choosing me. Lily's face darkened. She was silent for a moment, and then she sighed. Fine, she said, turning away. But don't think you've seen the last of me. I'll make sure everyone knows what you did. With that, she stormed off and I closed the door behind her. This time I was sure it was over. But a part of me wondered, was this really the end? Or was she going to come back, more furious than ever, with something even worse up her sleeve? I knew Lily wasn't one to give up easily, but I had made my decision. There was no turning back. It's amazing how much drama can spiral out of control when you least expect it. After I reached out to the lawyer, I thought I'd be able to put this whole situation to rest once and for all. But as I was preparing for the legal steps ahead, something happened that I never saw coming. One evening, while I was sitting at home reviewing some paperwork from my lawyer, I received a message from an unfamiliar number. At first, I thought it was just another spam message, but then I saw it. It was a video link. A text followed, "You should watch this. It's important." I almost didn't click on it, but something made me hesitate. What if it was a message from someone who could finally help me get out of this nightmare? Maybe it was a piece of evidence that would expose Lily for good. So I opened the link. The video started with a shaky camera angle, and at first it looked like a normal recording of some people talking. But then I recognized the voices. It was Lily, and shockingly it was her talking to her mother. I leaned in, straining to hear the conversation. What I heard next sent chills down my spine. In the video, Lily's mother was advising her to make things more difficult for him, and make him regret his decision. She was suggesting ways to make me feel guilty enough to change my mind and give up on the breakup. They talked about creating fake scenarios, staging things to make it look like I was still in the wrong, and dragging me into emotional blackmail. Lily's own mother was in on this entire plot. Couldn't believe it. All the things Lily had done, the manipulations, the lies, had been fueled by her own mother, who was coaching her through every step. It wasn't just Lily trying to control me. It was a family scheme designed to break me down, emotionally and financially. And they had no idea that I was now aware of everything. I felt a surge of anger, but also a deep sense of betrayal. How could a mother be so heartless? How could she encourage her daughter to destroy someone's life like this? But then, something clicked. This was the perfect evidence I needed. If I could use this video in court, I could finally end this madness for good. The video proved that Lily wasn't just acting on her own. She was part of a coordinated effort to tear me down. And with this footage in my hands, I was about to turn the tables on her in ways she never saw coming. I made sure to save the video and sent it straight to my lawyer. There was no way they could deny what had been captured on camera. This was my chance to finally get the truth out in the open. But as I sat there, staring at the screen, I realized this was only the beginning of what was likely to be a long and intense legal battle. And I knew, deep down, that Lily would fight back harder than ever. But now I had the upper hand. It was time to take action. And this time I wasn't holding back. I thought things were finally starting to go my way. With the video from Lily and her mother, I had the perfect weapon to destroy their scheme and put an end to the chaos. My lawyer agreed it was the kind of evidence that could win the case. I was ready to go to court and expose the truth once and for all. But as with anything involving Lily, it wasn't going to be that simple. A few days later, I received a letter from Lily's attorney. I thought it was just a standard response, maybe asking for a settlement. But when I opened it, My heart sank. The letter claimed that I was the one who had been manipulating Lily this entire time. It accused me of gaslighting her, coercing her into feeling guilty, and controlling every aspect of her life. The lawyer also claimed that I had used emotional abuse tactics against her, tactics that were completely fabricated. According to them, Lily had been under emotional duress due to my constant mistreatment, and that I was now trying to ruin her reputation with false accusations. I couldn't believe what I was reading. It was an outrageous attempt to flip the script on everything. They were trying to make me look like the villain, the abuser, and the worst part? Lily's mother was behind it all. Her lawyer made sure to bring up my financial situation, accusing me of threatening Lily's financial security by trying to take everything away from her. The audacity of it all was almost unbelievable. They were trying to make me out to be the bad guy when it was clear who had been causing all the problems. But now, with this letter, I realized that they were playing the victim card to its fullest potential. I immediately called my lawyer. He was furious but also impressed with how creative they were getting. We agreed that the best course of action was to remain calm, keep gathering evidence, and prepare for a longer battle. But I also knew this was far from over. Then, just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, I received another surprise. A message from a mutual friend who had been in touch with Lily reached out, saying she had information about some other things that had happened during our relationship. Apparently, Lily had been telling people that I had a violent temper and that she was terrified of me, all of which was completely untrue. That was the final straw. I was done playing defense. It was clear to me now that this wasn't just a breakup anymore. This was a full-out attack on my character, my reputation, and everything I had worked for. If I didn't fight back now, it could destroy me. I took a deep breath, prepared myself for the upcoming storm, and decided to push forward. This was my life on the line, and I wasn't about to let someone like Lily and her manipulative family win. I made sure to collect every piece of evidence, every conversation, and every possible witness who could vouch for the truth. It was time to expose everything for what it really was, and this time I wasn't backing down. The battle was just beginning. Just when I thought things couldn't get more intense, a completely unexpected twist came out of nowhere. One afternoon, as I was going through the mountain of documents my lawyer had collected, I got a call from my sister, Sarah. She sounded frantic. I could barely make out her words, but what I did hear made my blood run cold. "Jason," she said, her voice trembling, "I need to tell you something. It's about Lily. I found out something that changes everything." At first, I thought it was just another one of her attempts to warn me about Lily's manipulations. But when she told me what she had uncovered, I was left in shock. Apparently, Lily had been hiding a huge secret from everyone, even from me. For the past year, she had been seeing another man, someone she had been secretly living with. Sarah had found out through a mutual acquaintance, who had seen them together at a coffee shop. Turns out, Lily had been juggling both relationships for months, and I had no idea. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was what Sarah uncovered next. Lily had planned this entire breakup, orchestrating the drama and the false accusations against me as a way to get rid of me without looking like the villain. According to what Sarah had found, Lily had been talking to her new partner the whole time, telling him that she was just waiting for the right moment to end things with me. And worst of all, she had even asked him for advice on how to get rid of me without making herself look bad. This was the kind of betrayal I couldn't have imagined in my worst nightmares. Not only had Lily been seeing someone else behind my back, but she had actively planned to destroy my life by manipulating me and fabricating lies about me. Everything that had been happening, the false accusations, the lawyer's letters, the attempt to ruin my reputation, had all been part of a sick plan to get out of the relationship with minimal fallout. It was a calculated move, and I was the one left holding the pieces. The shock of it all hit me hard. I couldn't believe that someone I had loved and trusted so much was capable of such a thing. The depth of her deception was beyond anything I had ever imagined. But now I knew exactly what I was up against. I called my lawyer right away, updating him on the new information. He was just as stunned as I was, but he immediately saw the potential this revelation had for turning the case in my favor. With this new evidence of Lily's deceit, we could prove that she was the one in the wrong, that all the claims against me were part of her attempt to cover up her actions. We needed to act fast before she could spin any more lies. But as I hung up the phone, I couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't over yet. There was still more to uncover, and I was determined to find out exactly how deep the lies ran. This battle was far from over, but at least now I had the upper hand. The game had changed, and I was ready to expose everything. I knew that revealing Lily's secret wouldn't just change my life. It would flip everything on its head. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I needed to take this to the next level. I wasn't going to let her get away with destroying me while she waltzed away unscathed. She had made me look like a fool in front of my family, my friends, and even people I didn't know. It was time for payback. I reached out to my lawyer again, and this time, I asked him about something I had been considering. What if we made this public? I asked. What if we released all the evidence we have to the press? My lawyer paused for a moment, then asked, "Are you sure you want to go that route? Once you make it public, there's no turning back." I was certain. I wanted the world to know the truth. Lily wasn't going to slink off into the shadows while I was left with the wreckage of my life. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. If I exposed her, not only would I reclaim my dignity, but it would also send a message to anyone else who thought they could take advantage of someone without consequences. The decision was made. My lawyer and I compiled all the evidence. Messages, photos, recordings, and the damning information Sarah had uncovered, and began working on a statement. The goal was clear. Get the truth out before Lily could spin another lie. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about exposing her manipulations and hopefully stopping her from doing this to anyone else in the future. We sent the press release out, and within hours the story blew up. The news outlets picked it up quickly. The headline? Man exposes fiancé's double life and lies. A tale of betrayal and deception. It felt surreal seeing my story spread across the media. My phone was blowing up with texts from people I hadn't spoken to in years. Some were supportive, others were shocked, and a few just wanted to know the details. Couldn't blame them. This was the kind of story that made people question everything they thought they knew about relationships. As the days passed, the public backlash against Lily grew. She was being flooded with messages, and her social media accounts were bombarded with angry comments. The tables had turned so fast, it was dizzying. But just when I thought everything was settling into place, I got another unexpected phone call. It was from Lily's family. They were furious, not with her, but with me. Her mother, in particular, was screaming down the phone, accusing me of ruining her daughter's life. She was just confused. "You don't know what she's been through," her mother shouted. I was stunned. How was it possible that they were still defending her after everything had come to light? They didn't care about the facts or the hurt she had caused. They just wanted to protect their own image. But I didn't back down. I calmly explained how I had been manipulated, lied to, and taken advantage of, and how I wouldn't let her destroy me anymore. That call only fueled my resolve. I realized that Lily's lies went far beyond her relationships. She had built an entire network of people willing to cover for her. But I wasn't going to be the one who let her get away with it. This wasn't just about her and me anymore. It was about making sure she couldn't hurt anyone else the way she had hurt me. The public fallout was intense, and it wasn't long before Lily began to feel the consequences. Her job began to question her behavior after the news broke, and she found herself cut off from her circle of friends. Her carefully constructed life was crumbling before her eyes, and I was watching it all unfold. But just when I thought I had one, a twist came that I didn't expect. Lily tried to reach out to me. It was a quiet evening when I got the message. It was from Lily, of all people. My phone buzzed with an unfamiliar number, and at first I didn't want to pick it up. After everything that had happened, I was done with her. But curiosity got the better of me, and I answered. "Hey!" Her voice was shaky, almost pleading. "I know you're probably furious with me, and I understand why. But you need to hear me out." I didn't interrupt. I let her talk. It felt strange, hearing her voice again after everything that had unfolded. "I never wanted any of this," she continued. "You have to understand. Everything I did, I was pressured into it. My family, my friends, they all had their expectations for me, and I just didn't know how to deal with it. You were the only one who ever really cared about me, and I threw it all away. But I was scared, and I messed up. I'm sorry. I stared at the screen for a moment, trying to process her words. For a second, I almost felt bad for her. Almost. But then, everything she had done hit me again. The lies, the betrayal, the embarrassment. I was not some charity case for her to fall back on when things went south. You really think this apology changes anything? I asked, my voice colder than I wanted it to be. She was quiet for a moment. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just needed to say it. I know it's too late, but I couldn't live with myself knowing I hadn't tried. You deserve better. And I hope you find someone who can give you what I couldn't. Her words hung in the air, but I couldn't bring myself to feel any sympathy. Maybe if she had reached out earlier, before all the public fallout, things might have been different. But now, it was too late. I had already made my choice, and nothing she said could undo the damage she'd caused. I took a deep breath and responded, "It's over, Lily. You made your choices and I made mine. We're done." With that, I ended the call. Felt final. There was no satisfaction in it, no sense of victory. Just the certainty that I was better off without her. I had learned valuable lessons from everything that happened, lessons that I would carry forward. And just like that, it was over. The saga of betrayal and heartbreak had ended, but I wasn't left with any regrets. Sure, I had been hurt, but I had also come out stronger. I had exposed the truth, taken control of my life, and made the choice to move forward without the toxic people who had tried to hold me back. As the dust settled, I realized that the most important thing wasn't about getting revenge or making anyone pay. It was about reclaiming my own peace of mind and my future. Lily's chapter in my life was over, and I was ready for what came next. For once, I was free. The months following the fallout with Lily were a mix of reflection and rebuilding. I took time to focus on myself, something I hadn't really done in a long while. I began reconnecting with old friends, exploring new hobbies, and even traveling a bit. It was amazing how much peace I found in simply being on my own, without the weight of someone else's expectations hanging over me. One afternoon, as I was catching up with an old friend over coffee, I received an unexpected call. It was from my lawyer, and I instantly felt a twinge of curiosity mixed with concern. "Hey, I know this might sound odd," he began, "but I've got some interesting news regarding Lily and her family." I leaned in, my heart skipping a beat. "What now?" "There's been some movement on the legal front," he said. "Turns out Lily's family wasn't as innocent as they appeared. Your story, the whole situation with the dog and the wedding, had more eyes on it than you think. Some of the stuff they tried to pull behind the scenes, it's looking like they might be in some serious trouble." I sat there in disbelief. How could this be? After everything that had happened, I thought I was done with it all. Now, it seemed like the consequences were far from over. He continued, "Lily's parents, especially her father, were involved in some financial manipulations to cover up their own mistakes. They were using their connections to control her actions and isolate you from the rest of her life. Now, a lot of it's coming to light. It could even get pretty ugly for them." I had no idea what to say. This was the last thing I expected. "Do you want to be involved?" he asked. "You don't have to do anything if you don't want to, but your story could help unravel a lot of the stuff they've been hiding." The temptation to get involved in this mess was strong, but I thought about it for a moment. After everything, I was done with their drama. I didn't need to get entangled in their future problems. I had already made my choice once, and I wasn't going back on it. "No," I said firmly. "I don't want any part of it. Let them deal with their own mess. I've moved on, and I'm not looking back." The decision felt right. I had nothing left to prove to anyone, not to Lily or her family. The chapter had closed, and it was time for me to continue writing my own story, one that was free from their chaos. As the months passed, I realized that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away from a toxic situation and never look back. The peace that came with that choice was worth more than any form of closure I might have gotten by confronting them. I had reclaimed my life, and for the first time in a long while I was truly happy. No more drama, no more betrayal. Just a fresh start. And that was all I needed.